I will start by saying, you know, after every exhibition, like being back in the studio comes with a lot of cleaning up and reorganizing the studio for whatever comes next. So I have to transform it from a workplace into an exhibition place, into a packing place, and it comes a lot with pushing things around and cleaning up. You saw the three large canvases in the exhibition at Abigail's Gallery, and when they were here in the studio, it was quite tight. And I have one of each of the panels on each of my walls here, and when it got visually overwhelming, I had to turn them around and put them face to the wall in order to focus on just one of them. In 2011, I followed my now wife to the US. We ended up in the Boston area for her job. And that was a big step into a new world. And I never regretted it. It definitely took a while to get my feet back on the ground here. I remember at the time when I was moving, I figured it's gonna be my art that's the kind of through line, and it's gonna keep me going. So at the beginning, when I arrived in Cambridge, I was really trying to paint the same paintings that I painted at the end of my time in Germany. So I thought, okay, this is gonna keep me going, and that worked maybe for a year or two, and then it felt like it doesn't belong here, and that's when I started looking into like new motifs and different stories, and I think that was the beginning of my focus on landscape painting. Mostly thinking about the landscape that I left, like I showed you earlier, like all those landscapes of the region that I grew up in. So there was a lot about also processing, having left that environment that seemed like my natural habitat. And I think it also became maybe more interesting as soon as I left it. So it was a little bit of like looking back or looking at what I would called home at the time from the outside. I noticed them initially like in Somerville, in the area where I live, groups of kids that leave their daycare on their way to the playground around the corner, and they're holding onto this rope. They're all lined up. They are dressed in this funny little yellow vests to make sure they're seen by cars or drivers, I guess. You normally have an adult up front leading, and kind of at the tail end, you have another chaperone making sure that no one gets lost at the end. Seeing those groups, they're clearly structured and kind of bracketed in by the grown-ups. And I thought they're worthy of being protagonists, and I wanted to contrast them with this kind of vast, rugged landscape in which they might seem lost and a little helpless and endangered, or on the other hand, free to do what they want or define what their future might be. If we show a figure that's looking into the landscape and we kind of behind them looking through their back into the distance, the figure kind of becomes a placeholder for us. We're not so much identifying with the person themselves, but we put ourselves in their place. So it's just those daily observations of these groups that stuck with me. And as soon as I see an image that I think is strong on the visual level and on a content level, it ends up in a folder where it might sit for a while before it makes it into a painting. A lot of those ideas are coming out of previous works, so it's hard to say when exactly something started. But I know for sure that I started painting mid-January. I'm not sure if I can calculate the exact number of hours, but there were definitely multiple days, if not weeks, where there were like 12 to 14 hour studio days. There were some weeks where it got pretty intense.